In modern Vietnamese history, there are individuals whose names are closely associated with the nation's pivotal turning points. Trường Chinh, whose real name was Dang Xuân Cu, was one such outstanding leader. Born in 1907 in Nam Dinh, he was not only the general secretary of the party during the early years of the resistance against the French, but also a foremost ideological architect who laid the foundations for many strategic policies in politics, culture, and warfare. With strategic vision and sharp intellect, Trung Chin helped shape the revolutionary identity of Vietnam, deeply rooted in national values while firmly grounded in Marxism-Leninism. Throughout the arduous journey of revolution, he consistently demonstrated unwavering resolve, innovative thinking, and a wholehearted dedication to the country. His contributions are not only etched in the history of the struggle for independence, but also profoundly embedded in the development of Vietnam's revolutionary theory and ideology. Background and revolutionary path. Trung Chin, whose real name was Dang Xuân Cu, was born on February 9, 1907, in Hang Thien Village, Xuân Trung District, Nam Dinh Province, a land renowned for its tradition of learning, patriotism, and as the birthplace of many cultural figures and patriotic scholars in Vietnamese history. Coming from a Confucian scholar family, Trung Chin was instilled early with a strong national spirit and a rebellious attitude against colonial rule. His father, Dang Xuân Vien, was a learned Confucian scholar who opened a private school and inspired patriotism and national pride in his children. This family environment had a profound impact on Trung Chin's early thoughts and character. In the early 1920s, while studying at the Bui School, now Chu Van An High School in Hanoi, Trung Chin displayed a deep sense of patriotism and strong opposition to tyranny and social injustice. It was during this time that he began to access Marxism-Leninism and proletarian revolutionary ideas through progressive French and Chinese publications. In 1927, amidst a rising wave of nationalistic movements across the country, Trung Chin joined the Tan Viet Revolutionary Party, a precursor to the Communist Party. Just a few years later, due to his unwavering commitment and outstanding intellect, he officially became a member of the Indochinese Communist Party in 1930, during the party's founding days. Trung Chin quickly became a professional revolutionary, actively organizing workers' and peasants' movements, writing articles for propaganda, and mobilizing the masses to fight for independence. During his activism, he was repeatedly arrested, tortured, and imprisoned by the French colonial authorities, yet he always upheld his revolutionary spirit and steadfastness. His time imprisoned at Son La Prison, one of the era's major revolutionary schools, was a period of continued ideological training and deeper study of the proletarian revolutionary path. After his release, Trung Chin promptly returned to clandestine activities and took on many important roles within the party. Trung Chin's revolutionary path was far from smooth, but with intellect, political acumen, and a burning patriotism, he gradually affirmed his role as one of the most outstanding leaders of the Communist Party of Vietnam in the 20th century. The fervent revolutionary years of his youth laid a solid foundation for his tremendous later contributions in revolutionary theory, politics, and organizational leadership, joining the party and his role in the pre-uprising period. After being exposed early to revolutionary ideas and Marxism-Leninism through his studies and youth activities, in 1927, Trung Chin officially joined the Tan Viet Revolutionary Party, a progressive patriotic organization at the time, gathering young intellectuals and progressive youths with nationalist and revolutionary inclinations. There, he demonstrated strong theoretical capability and excellent organizational skills, earning the trust of his comrades and being entrusted with many important responsibilities. With a deep desire for national liberation and strong belief in the proletarian revolutionary path, by 1930, following the founding of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Trung Chin became one of the first members of the Indochinese Communist Party, the precursor of today's Communist Party of Vietnam. This marked a major turning point in his revolutionary career, transforming him from a patriotic youth into a professional revolutionary, ready to devote his entire life to the cause of national independence and communist ideals. During the difficult and dangerous early stages, Trường Chinh actively participated in workers' and peasants' movements in the north. He wrote revolutionary articles, organized grassroots cells, and mobilized the masses to resist excessive taxation and denounce colonial and feudal crimes. These bold activities led the French colonialists to view him as an extremely dangerous element and to relentlessly hunt him down. In 1932, he was arrested by the French colonial authorities, sentenced, and exiled to Sun-La prison, a harsh facility notorious for detaining revolutionaries. During his years of imprisonment, Trường Chinh remained unbroken and continued to study Marxist-Leninist theory, discussing the path of national salvation with fellow inmates and preparing ideologically for future actions. Sun-La prison became a political school, where Trường Chinh further strengthened his revolutionary stance and deepened his belief in the leadership of the working class and the proletarian revolutionary road. After his release, he resumed clandestine activities and quickly rose to become one of the key leaders of the party during the pre-uprising period. He actively helped consolidate the party's organization, build mass revolutionary movements, and expand the base both in rural and urban areas. Despite intense repression, he continued to spread the revolutionary flame, playing a central role in protecting party cadres, restoring party structures, and preparing forces for the upcoming struggle waves. These difficult years of activism forged Trường Chinh into a skilled theorist, organizer, and revolutionary leader, laying the foundation for his crucial role in later tumultuous historical phases, especially the August Revolution of 1945 and the resistance against the French. General Secretary during the early period of the resistance against the French. In 1941, as the global and domestic situations were undergoing significant changes, Nazi Germany was ravaging Europe, and Japanese fascists had entered Indochina. The Vietnamese revolutionary movement was entering a period of direct preparation for an uprising. During this time, the Indochinese Communist Party convened its 8th Central Committee Conference in the Pak Bao Forest, Cao Bang Province. This historic conference, chaired by Nguyen Ai Quoc, later known as Ho Chi Minh, was crucial in setting a new strategic direction for the Vietnamese Revolution. At the conference, Trường Chinh was elected General Secretary of the party, replacing Comrade Nguyen Van Cu. This was a major milestone in his revolutionary career and in the party's development. With sharp intellect, unwavering determination, and strategic thinking, Trường Chinh became the one steering the party's political, ideological, and organizational direction during a difficult yet decisive period for the nation. From 1941 to 1956, in his role as General Secretary, Trường Chinh made significant contributions in shaping the revolutionary line of national liberation and people's democracy. He consistently promoted the principle that national liberation is the foremost task, tightly linking national revolution with social revolution, political struggle with armed struggle, and secret operations with mass mobilization throughout the country. During the August Revolution of 1945, Trường Chinh played a strategic role in leading the party to launch a general uprising to seize power. With the slogan, "General Uprising to Seize Power for the People," he and the party's Central Committee promptly seized the political opportunity created by Japan's coup against France, March 1945, swiftly organizing armed forces and mobilizing the masses to carry out an earth-shaking revolution, resulting in the birth of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam on September 2, 1945. When French colonialists returned to invade Vietnam at the end of 1946, Trường Chinh continued to serve as the chief commander of revolutionary ideology and resistance strategy. He directly proposed and refined the now famous motto, "All people, comprehensive, long-term, self-reliant, and with international support." Notably, his 1947 work, "Resistance Will Surely Win," became a guiding light for the resistance era, boosting the morale of the entire nation and rejecting appeasement and compromise. In this book, Trường Chinh emphasized the role of the people in a just war, establishing the doctrine of people's war, which later became a defining feature of Vietnam's military strategy. With his strategic vision and exceptional theoretical ability, Trường Chinh not only mapped out the resistance line against the French, but also played a key role in restructuring the country's political, administrative, and cultural systems amidst wartime. His tenure as General Secretary, 1941 to 1956, was marked by the party's operations under extreme danger, the successful leadership of the National Revolution, and the organization of a protracted resistance. During those years, Trường Chinh fully embodied the role of a strategic leader, an ideological architect, and a major theorist of the Vietnamese Revolution. The architect of revolutionary thought and resistance strategy. In the history of the Vietnamese Revolution, Trường Chinh was not only a resilient political leader, but also the chief ideologue and theorist of the Indochinese Communist Party, later the Communist Party of Vietnam. He laid the foundational principles for a resistance strategy deeply rooted in national identity and tailored to the specific conditions of Vietnam, a backward agricultural nation facing powerful colonial and imperialist enemies. One of Trường Chin's most significant theoretical contributions was his principal authorship of the 1943 document Outline of Vietnamese Culture, a pioneering cultural manifesto during the pre-uprising period. In this document, Trường Chinh laid out three major principles: national, scientific, popular. These were not merely short-term cultural guidelines, but served as the ideological foundation for Vietnam's revolutionary culture, emphasizing the creation of a cultural identity that was rich in national spirit, scientifically progressive, and accessible to the masses. The document affirmed culture as an essential ideological front inseparable from the struggle for national liberation. During the resistance against the French, Trường Chinh continued to play a central role in shaping and developing the strategy of all people, all-around resistance. He advocated and formalized the well-known doctrine: all people, all around, protracted resistance, self-reliance, and international support. This doctrine was clearly and systematically presented in his 1947 work, Resistance Will Certainly Win, a critical political and theoretical treatise written during the early stages of the anti-French resistance. The book not only defined the nature and tasks of the resistance, but also shaped the theory of People's War, a military doctrine suited to Vietnam's conditions. All people resistance. Everyone, young and old, men and women, was a fighter. All-around resistance. Struggle was not only on the battlefield, but also in economic, cultural, and ideological fronts. Protracted resistance. Victory would not come quickly. It required long-term endurance to exhaust the enemy. Self-reliance. Victory depended primarily on internal strength rather than foreign aid. Trường Chinh placed special emphasis on the role of politics and ideology in armed struggle, calling it the soul of the resistance. According to him, lasting victory could not be achieved through military force alone, but required correct ideological direction, solid political leadership, a highly awakened populace, and the building of societal confidence in eventual triumph. This integration of armed struggle with ideological work, of political theory with practical resistance, created the comprehensive strength that enabled Vietnam to gradually defeat enemies with superior weaponry and resources. Trường Chin's resistance thinking not only served immediate victories, but also had long-term strategic value, helping to shape the distinctive model of People's War in Vietnam, a model that would later be studied and emulated by numerous liberation movements around the world. Representative theoretical works. As one of the leading theorists of the Communist Party of Vietnam in the 20th century, Trường Chinh was not only prominent in practical leadership, but also laid a solid foundation for the party's ideological and strategic direction through profound and influential political theoretical works. During the resistance against the French, he produced several notable theoretical writings that not only reflected the actual conditions of the country, but also provided ideological and political orientation for party cadres, members, and the entire nation. Resistance Will Certainly Win, 1947. This is Trường Chin's most prominent work, written in the early years of the resistance against the French. With sharp reasoning, tight arguments, and compelling language, the work thoroughly analyzed the nature of the French colonial invasion and affirmed the just nature of Vietnam's resistance. Emphasized the principle of People's War, highlighting the decisive role of the people, the strength of the entire population, and the necessity of a prolonged, comprehensive, and self-reliant resistance. Rejected all notions of appeasement, surrender, or dependence on foreign powers, thereby boosting self-reliance and confidence in victory throughout the party and the people. This work was not only of theoretical value, but also served as a practical handbook for the political system and armed forces during the challenging early years of the resistance. Marxism and the Vietnamese cultural question. In this work, Trường Chinh focused on analyzing the relationship between culture and revolution, a subject to which he devoted great attention. He analyzed the revolutionary and scientific nature of Marxism, affirming that Marxism-Leninism was the guiding compass for building a new Vietnamese culture. Culture is not a neutral domain, but must serve political tasks, serve the people, and contribute to national liberation. He also criticized colonial and feudal backward cultures and affirmed the role of revolutionary artists and intellectuals in both resistance and national construction. This work provided a theoretical foundation for building a new Vietnamese culture, continuing the spirit of the Outline of Vietnamese Culture from 1943. The National Democratic People's Revolution in Vietnam. This important work clarified the nature, tasks, and direction of Vietnam's revolution during the resistance period. Trường Chinh explained that the Vietnamese Revolution was a national, democratic people's revolution fighting against both imperialism and feudalism. The revolutionary forces consisted of a worker-peasant intellectual alliance under the leadership of the party. The immediate goal was national liberation, alongside building a people's government, implementing land reform, and gradually progressing towards socialism. This work helped unify understanding within the party regarding the revolutionary path, avoiding leftist or rightist deviations, and guided strategic policies during the intense phase of the resistance. Overall value of the works. Trường Chin's theoretical works not only held deep academic value, but were also highly practical in action. They contributed to the formation of a distinctive ideological and theoretical system for the Vietnamese Revolution, strengthened the political stance of party cadres and members amidst complex wartime conditions, served as the foundation for establishing the party's strategic directions, from resistance ideology to economic, cultural, and social strategies. With these contributions, Trường Chinh is rightly recognized as the chief architect of revolutionary theory in 20th century Vietnam. Contributions in ideology and organization. Throughout his revolutionary journey, Trường Chinh was not only a resilient political leader, but also honored as the chief architect of the party's theoretical line, a title earned through his profound and enduring contributions in the realms of ideology, theory, and revolutionary organization. Vietnamizing Marxism-Leninism. One of Trường Chin's most notable contributions was his role in systematizing and Vietnamizing Marxism-Leninism, transforming the global revolutionary doctrine into a guiding compass suited to Vietnam's specific conditions, a semi-colonial, agricultural country under the domination of multiple imperialist powers. He did not rigidly apply classical theory, but instead creatively adapted it to national realities, laying the foundation for a highly localized revolutionary theoretical system, one that resonated with the daily lives and mindset of the Vietnamese people. Concepts like all-people resistance, cultural reform, people's war, and land reform were all expressions of Marxist-Leninist theory tailored into practical, accessible, and powerful forms. Through numerous writings and practical leadership, Trường Chinh helped theoretically ground the party's political strategies, enabling cadres and members to deepen their understanding, reinforce class consciousness, and clarify the revolutionary path chosen by the party. Land reform, a deep social revolution. A particularly notable and challenging episode in Trường Chin's career was his leading role in shaping and implementing land reform policies in the early 1950s. Amid the fierce resistance against the French, the party recognized that mobilizing the entire population for people's war required a thorough resolution of the land issue, the core conflict between peasants and feudal landlords. As General Secretary and direct leader of the campaign, Trường Chinh promoted the policy of land to the tiller to liberate the productive forces and unleash the immense strength of the peasantry, the majority of the population, for the revolution. However, in the course of implementation, serious mistakes emerged, particularly in classifying targets and wrongful convictions. The social, psychological, and political upheavals of that time had significant consequences, affecting public trust in the party. What remains admirable about Trường Chinh is his deep sense of political responsibility. He courageously accepted accountability before the party and the people, offered a sincere self-criticism, and stepped down as general secretary in 1956 to pave the way for rectification efforts. His honesty, transparency, and revolutionary integrity exemplified the noble character of a true communist. Architect of organization and revolutionary strategy. Beyond his ideological role, Trường Chinh made major contributions to building a strong party organization, expanding mass bases, training cadres, and shaping leadership mechanisms suited to each historical phase. He understood well that, without a strong organization, even the best theory cannot be implemented. His organizational thinking was reflected in his coordination of the party central committee's operations, guidance of key strategic departments such as propaganda, culture, and large-scale mass mobilization campaigns. Under his leadership, the party's organizational structure was strengthened and expanded to meet the demands of long-term resistance and sustainable nation-building. Trường Chin's contributions in ideology and organization were not limited to a specific historical period, but left a lasting imprint on the development of Vietnam's revolutionary theory and practice. He remains a symbol of a leader with sharp theoretical vision, effective organizational skills, and above all, the courage to take political responsibility, something not all leaders possess. Final years. After the victory of the Resistance War against French colonialism and the signing of the Geneva Accords in 1954, Vietnam entered a new era filled with both opportunities and challenges. Although Trường Chinh no longer held the position of General Secretary following the Land Reform Rectification Conference in 1956, he remained a key leader within the Politburo, playing an important role in many major decisions of the party and the state. He successively held several significant positions: member of the Politburo, the highest political and strategic leadership body of the party; chairman of the Standing Committee of the National Assembly, head of the country's highest legislative authority; chairman of the State Council from 1981 to 1987, equivalent to the role of head of state, during a time when the country was facing post-war hardships, international embargoes, and prolonged economic crises. Despite his advanced age, Trường Chinh remained deeply concerned with the nation's fate. He was among the pioneers advocating for a renewal of leadership thinking, economic reforms, and restructuring of state management. With visionary insight and dialectical thinking, he played a pivotal role in laying the ideological and theoretical groundwork for the Đổi mới renovation process initiated at the 6th National Congress of the Communist Party in 1986, a historic turning point that helped lift Vietnam out of stagnation and backwardness and begin integrating with the world. In the preparatory meetings for the Đổi mới reform, Trường Chinh repeatedly emphasized, renovation does not mean changing the socialist goal, but finding the appropriate path to achieve that goal. His idea that renovation is a historical necessity helped break through ideological deadlocks and paved the way for wide-ranging reforms in economic management, legal development, agriculture, and commerce. On September 30th, 1988, Trường Chinh passed away in Hanoi at the age of 81. His death was a great loss to the party, the state, and the entire nation. However, he left behind a monumental and enduring legacy of ideological and theoretical contributions, distilled from a lifetime of tireless dedication to the revolutionary cause, national independence, and the building of socialism. Legacy: theories on people's war, revolutionary culture, social reform, and organizational thinking. A system of enduring political and ideological works. A shining example of a resilient, honest, intelligent revolutionary with a strong sense of political responsibility. Trường Chinh was not only a leader and theorist, but also a symbol of commitment and innovation in modern Vietnamese revolutionary thought. Overall assessment. Throughout nearly 60 years of revolutionary activity, Trường Chinh emerged as a quintessential figure of the Vietnamese communist, steadfast in ideals, profound in thought, principled in discipline, yet full of creative resolve. He was not only a strategist, organizer and leader of revolutionary movements, but also the ideological soul during many of the nation's most challenging historical periods, especially during the resistance against French colonialism. With sharp intellect and strategic vision, Trường Chinh helped shape a revolutionary theoretical system imbued with Vietnamese characteristics, in which Marxism-Leninism was Vietnamized to suit the specific conditions of an underdeveloped agricultural nation under invasion. His works such as Resistance Will Certainly Win, Marxism and the Vietnamese Cultural Question, and Outline of Vietnamese Culture were not merely theoretical documents, but action-oriented guides for generations of party cadres, members, and the masses throughout a long period. He is remembered as the architect of People's War, laying the foundation for the all-people, all-around resistance strategy that later became a hallmark of modern Vietnamese military doctrine. He also placed great importance on ideological and cultural work, considering it the foremost front of the revolution, consistently emphasizing the roles of intellectuals, artists, educators, and the press in fostering national spirit. Despite facing historical challenges, most notably the mistakes during the land reform, Trường Chinh demonstrated rare political courage, boldly accepting responsibility and sacrificing personal standing for the greater good of the party and the people. His revolutionary honesty earned him deep respect from comrades, compatriots, and later generations. In his final years, he did not cling to outdated thinking, but continued to engage in the renewal of ideology, contributing to the theoretical foundation for the party's Đổi mới renovation policy. This showed a leader who not only remained steadfast in what was right, but was also brave enough to change when necessary, a quality reserved for truly great individuals. Trường Chinh was one of the founding architects of modern Vietnamese political theory. He symbolized the harmonious blend of principle and innovation, intellect and action, revolutionary legacy, and forward-thinking renewal. His immense contributions in the fields of ideology, culture, politics, and organization played a pivotal role in the great victories of the Vietnamese Revolution in the 20th century. His name will forever be remembered as one of the pioneering theorists and ideological guides of the Vietnamese Revolution, a man deeply concerned with the fate of the nation and the future of the country.